Would you risk everything for just $1,000? That was the question thrown at Rina, a young woman working at a small, crowded cafe in Jakarta. She looked up, confused and slightly irritated, as a sharply dressed man in an expensive suit approached her table. His name was Adrian, a wealthy businessman known for his arrogance and sharp-tongued way. Adrian leaned casually against the counter, holding a crisp stack of bills in one hand. "I'll give you $1, he said, face dripping with condescension, "if you serve me personally for the next hour." He smirked, clearly expecting laughter or compliance. The other customers in the cafe whispered among themselves, some curious, some amused. Rina's eyes narrowed. She didn't flinch, though her heart was racing. She had grown up watching her mother work hard for every penny, and she had never let Ione treat her or others as a jockey. She straightened her posture and met Adrian's gaze without a trace of fear. Before she spoke, she glanced at her friend and coworker, Danny, who was sweeping tables nearby. Danny gave her a subtle nod, silently telling her to be careful, but also to stand her ground. "Are you serious?" Rina finally asked, her face calm but firm. "You think money can make me obey someone who mocks me?" Adrian laughed, a rich, mocking sound, drawing more attention from the cafe crowd. "Of course," he sighed. $1,000 is nothing for me. But I want to see how far you are willing to go. Serve me, and the money is yours. Refuse, and, well, you do be remembered for your defiance." Rina paused. She could feel the tension thickening around her. The customers leaned in, waiting for her reaction, some even recording the scene on their phones. She took a deep breath and smiled, not a smile of fear, but one of strategy. "Ulrich," she said finally, "I'll serve you. But on one condition." Adriana's confident expression faltered slightly, curious and slightly annoyed. "You will follow my rules while I serve you, and not the other way around." Adrian blinked, caught off guard by her audacity. He had never encountered Ione who dared to negotiate with him like that. "And what rules would those be?" he asked, trying to mask the irritation creeping into his face. Rina leaned in slightly, lowering her face, making sure only Adrian could hear. "First, you leave the arrogance at the door. Second, respect is earned, not bought. And third, you treat every person here, including me, like a human being, not a jockey." Adrian's sneer returned, though more guarded this time. He gestured toward the cash. "Fame. Deal. Let's see how this plays out." As the hour began, Rina moved with precision and confidence. She poured drinks, served plates, and answered Adrian's questions with wit and intelligence. Each time Adrian tried to mock her, Rina turned it into a lesson or a subtle jab that left him speechless. The cafe grew silent, all eyes on the unlikely duel between wealth and wit. Danny watched from a corner, amazed at Rina's composure. "I've never seen Ione handle him like this," she whispered to a coworker. Rina's strategy was working. Adriana's arrogance was being tipped away, brick by brick, without her raising her face or losing her dignity. But just as it seemed the hour would end quickly, something unexpected happened. Adrian reached into his pocket, not for the promised $1, but for his phone. He called Someone urgently, speaking in low tones, glancing at Rina with a mix of frustration and admiration. "What is he doing?" Danny muttered under her breath, her curiosity piqued. Rina, sensing a shift in the atmosphere, continued her work calmly, pretending not to notice. She had learned long ago that patience often reveals the truth faster than confrontation. Adrian hung up and turned toward her, a rare law of respect in his eyes. "I didn't expect this," he said quietly, almost to himself. "I've thrown challenges at many, but you are different." Rina raised an eyebrow, holding a tray of drinks steady in her hands. Different how? She asked, genuinely curious, though keeping her tone neutral. Different because you don't just react, Adrian admitted, face low. You think. You don't let money or fear control you. That's rare. Rina paused. She could feel the energy in the room shifting. The two stomachs, once eager for drama, now watched in silent awe. She realized this moment could define her future, not just in this cafe, but in ways she hadn't imagined. Adrian leaned against the counter, silent for a moment, studying Rina. Ichame here expecting to know you, he sighed finally, but now? I'm wondering if the game has been on me all along. Rina tilted her head slightly, keeping her calm exterior. A game? I didn't come here to play games. Ichame to do my job and keep my dignity intact. Adrian chuckled, a low, reluctant laugh. Most people would have taken the money immediately. They'd have done anything just to get it. Rina sat down to try carefully, meeting his gaze. Money can buy comfort, but not respect. And it certainly can't buy integrity. At that moment, a man entered the cafe hurriedly. His name was Yusuf, a delivery worker who had become a familiar face for Rina over the past month. He carried a stack of papers and looked slightly anxious as he scanned the room. Rina, there is a package for you, Yusuf sighed, handing her a small envelope. Rina took it cautiously, noticing Adrian's curiosity spike. He leaned slightly forward, a rare moment of genuine interest in his eyes. Rina opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a note and a small key. The note read, "What you chose now will change everything. Use your courage wisely." Adrian's brow furrowed. "What is this?" he asked, his usual arrogance replaced by genuine curiosity. Rina looked up, her calmness unwavering. "I don't know yet. But it seems, Someone is testing more than just me." The cafe had gone completely quiet. Even Danny, who had been watching anxiously, seemed frozen in anticipation. The tension was palpable, almost suffocating, as all eyes remained on Rina. She took a deep breath and held up the key. "I have a choice to make," she sighed softly, more to herself than anyone else. "And his choice could change everything, not just for me, but for all of us." Adrian's usual confidence wavered. "Rina, you don't understand what you are holding. That key, it isn't just a key. Whoever sent it, they have plans. Big plans." Rina's eyes glimmered, a mix of fear and determination. "Plans or not, I will do what's right. And I will not let Ione, rich or poor, define who I am or what I'm worth." Suddenly, a loud crash came from the back of the cafe. A shelf had fallen, scattering tubes and plates. Everyone jumped, and for a moment, chaos erupted. But Rina remained steady, quickly moving to calm the situation and help Danny clean up. Adrian watched in silence, his respect for Rina growing by the second. He had seen countless people tremble under pressure. But she had become an unexpected force. Yusuf approached her again, quieter this time. "Rina, to note. I think it's from someone important. Someone who has been observing you." Rina nodded, clutching the envelope tightly. "Then I need to find out who it is. I can't ignore this. And I can't let fear dictate my actions." Adrian finally spoke, his face unusually low and sincere. "I thought I was testing you, Rina. But now, I think you've been testing me. And I don't know if I'm ready for what comes next." Rina glanced at him, a faint smile forming. "Then maybe it's time you start paying attention. Not to money or power, but to people. To actions. To changes." For the first time, Adrian seemed vulnerable. The mask of arrogance he always wore was gone. replaced by a quiet reflection he hadn't experienced in years. The envelope in Rina's hands felt heavier than money. It was a key to possibilities, to change, and to truth. And she knew, whatever happened next, would leave no one the same. Rina took the envelope carefully into her bag, her mind racing. She had always known life called through unexpected challenges, but this felt different. Not just a challenge, but a crossroads. Adrian, standing nearby, finally spoke again, his voice quieter than before. Rina, can I ask you something? She looked up, steadying her nerves. What is it? Why did you just take the money? His eyes searched hers, not with mockery, but with genuine curiosity. Most people would have done exactly what he asked. Rina smiled faintly. Because money never defines me. I've seen too many people trade dignity for comfort, and I promised myself I would never be one of them. Some things are worth more than dollars, Adrian. Respect, integrity, and courage, they're priceless. Adrian's expression softened, and for a moment, he seemed almost human. The arrogance that had defined him for years was gone, replaced by a mix of admiration and confusion. Before he could respond, Yusuf came rushing back, out of breath. Rina, you need to sit his. Rina followed him to the back of the cafe, where a small delivery truck was parked. The driver stepped forward, holding a larger box. This is for you, miss. Someone insisted he deliver it personally. Rina exchanged a glance with Danny, who looked equally puzzled. She took the box cautiously. It was heavy and sealed with a wax stamp she didn't recognize. Her hands trembled slightly as she broke the seal. Inside was a small, intricately carved wooden chest. Her heart raced as she lifted the lid. Inside lay several items. A golden key, identical to the one in the envelope. A letter, written in elegant handwriting. And a small, folded photograph of a woman who looked eerily familiar. Rina unfolded the letter carefully. Rina, you don't know me yet, but you will. The courage you face shown today is rare. The choice you make next will determine not only your path but the fate of many others. Trust your heart. Trust yourself. Her eyes widened. This was no longer about a simple challenge or $1,000. Someone had been watching her, testing her, and now, they had placed a responsibility on her shoulders that she didn't fully understand. Adrian, standing behind her, could sense the shift. Rina, what does it mean? He asked cautiously. She looked at him, eyes blazing with determination. It means, I have a choice. A real choice. And whatever I decide, it will change everything. Danny stepped closer, whispering, Rina, are you ready for this? You don't even know what you are dealing with. Rina shook her head, a faint smile on her lips. Maybe I don't. But I know one thing, I won't let fear decide for me. If I waited too long for courage to step aside. This is my moment. At that moment, the cafe doors swung open, and a sudden gust of wind scattered napkins and menus. Everyone turned, sensing the tension rising, as a figure stepped inside. Tall, imposing, but with eyes that held a strange softness. Rina, the figure sighed, facts calm but commanding. Is you've received the key? Rina's pulse quickened. She hadn't expected anyone else to be involved so soon. Who are you? She demanded, holding the chest tightly. The figure stepped closer, revealing a familiar face, the woman in the photograph. My name is Larissa, she sighed. And I've been waiting for someone like you. Someone who could make the choice others are too afraid to make. Adrian froze, stunned. He had thought he was part of the test, but now it seemed he had only been a spectator in a far bigger game. Larissa's gaze moved from Rina to Adrian. He played his role well, but now, the real responsibility falls on you. Rina took a deep breath. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from the thrill of knowing she was standing on the edge of something far bigger than herself. She knew that whatever decision she made next would replay far beyond the walls of this cafe. And in that moment, she realized, Chourage wasn't just standing up to Adrian, or even taking $1,000. Chourage was stepping into the unknown, armed only with conviction and heart. She looked at the golden key, feeling its weight in her palm, and whispered to herself, "It's time." Rina's fingers tightened around the golden key. The weight of it felt heavier than any stack of money she had ever held. She looked at Larissa. Was a calm gaze seemed to pierce through the uncertainty surrounding her. "Why me?" Rina asked, her face steady but tinged with curiosity. "Why now?" Larissa stepped closer, her eyes never leaving Rina's. "Because you have something rare. The Chourage to face challenges without letting fear or greed guide you. Most people fail the first test: money, power, comfort. But you passed all of them. That's why you were chosen." Adrian, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "Chosen? Chosen for what?" His face had lost its usual arrogance. Instead, there was a hint of unease, even away. Larissa glanced at him briefly. "For something far bigger than either of you can imagine. But this isn't just about you, Adrian. This is about Rina, and the choice she is about to make." Danny stepped closer to Rina, whispering urgently. "Rina, you don't know what this could mean. Are you sure you want to do this?" Rina looked down at the key, then at the chest, and finally at Larissa. Her heart pounded, but her mind was clear. "I don't know exactly what this leads to," she admitted, "but I know I can't let fear stop me. If this is my chance to do something that matters, I have to take it." Larissa nodded slowly, as if expecting this answer. "Very well. But understand this, the path will not be easy. You will face challenges, and some will try to stop you. You must trust yourself above all else." Adrian swallowed hard, his usual confidence shattered. "Rina, why? I thought I knew what Chourage was. I thought I was testing you. But now, I realize I don't even understand what real Chourage looks like." Rina's eyes met his briefly. "Then maybe it's time you start learning. Actions speak louder than wealth or status. Remember that." The cafe grew silent. Two stomachs watched in anticipation, sensing that this was no ordinary moment. The air was thick with tension, and even the hum of the city outside seemed to fade away. Rina took a deep breath and inserted the golden key into the chest. It clicked loudly, echoing through the quiet cafe. The lid slowly lifted, revealing an old, ornate journal and a small, folded page of parchment. She carefully unfolded the parchment. Written in elegant, flowing script were the words: "The choice you make now will define not only your life but the lives of countless others. Decide with your heart, and the world will follow your Chourage." Rina's hands trembled slightly as she opened the journal. Inside were pages filled with instructions, maps, and stories of those who had faced similar tests. It was clear, this was more than a simple challenge. This was a mission, a responsibility that had been passed to her because of her integrity. Larissa stepped closer. "Every decision you make from here will have consequences. But you are ready, Rina. You've proven that. You've proven that." Adriana's eyes were wide now, filled with a mystery of respect and disbelief. "I can't believe this. I thought this was about money, about mocking you, but this is extraordinary. Rina, Rina held up her hand gently, stopping him. "This isn't about you, Adrian. This is about what I chose to do it to chourage I have. You've had your lesson. Now it's my turn to act. Danny, still standing nearby, whispered softly, "I've never seen you like this, Rina. You're amazing." Rina allowed herself a small, confident smile. "Thank you, Danny. But it's not about being amazing. It's about doing what's right, no matter how hard it is." Larissa nodded approvingly. "Then let us begin. There is no turning back now. Once you step forward, your journey will unfold, and everything you've known will be tested. But I promise you, it will be worth it." Rina looked around at the cafe one last time. The faces of the two stomachs, Danny, even Adrian, they were all watching her. And in that moment, she realized something profound. Chourage wasn't just about fighting challenges. It was about embracing responsibility, even when the path is uncertain. She closed her eyes for a brief moment, took a deep breath, and whispered to herself, "I'm ready." As she opened her eyes, the atmosphere in the cafe seemed to shift. The air felt charged with possibility, as if the city itself was holding its breath, waiting for her next move. Rina picked up the journal and the parchment, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She knew that the choice she was about to make would change everything: her life, Adriana's perspective, and perhaps even the lives of people she had never met. And with that thought, she stepped forward. Rina clutched the journal tightly, her fingers brushing over the intricate designs on its cover. She turned toward Larissa. "What do I do first?" she asked, her face steady, though inside her heart ratchet. Larissa handed her a folded map from the chest. "This will guide you. There are places you must go, people you must meet, choices you must make. Some will test your patience. Some will test your heart. But remember, everything you do will matter." Adrian, still standing behind her, frowned. "And if she fails?" His tone was quieter than before, almost fearful. Larissa's eyes met his. "Failure isn't an option. Not for her, not for the path she has chosen. But more importantly, failure is never permanent. Every decision she makes teaches her something valuable. That's the real lesson." Danny stepped forward, worry in her eyes. "Rina, are you sure about this? It sounds dangerous. You don't even know what you're walking into." Rina shook her head, a calm determination in her gaze. "I know it's dangerous. But standing still out of fear, that's not an option. This is bigger than money, bigger than fear, bigger than anything I've faced before. I can turn away now." Larissa nodded approvingly. "Then go. But you must promise me, you will trust yourself. Your heart will guide you when the path seems impossible." Rina glanced at Adrian. "And you?" she asked softly. "Will you just watch, or will you learn from this too?" Adrian swallowed hard, guilt and awe mingling on his face. I will watch. And maybe, I'll learn. From you." With a final deep breath, Rina opened the journal and began flipping through the pages. Each page contained detailed notes, stories of people who had faced impossible choices, and riddles she would have to solve. Her mind raced, trying to absorb every page of information. Larissa handed her a small, leather satchel. "Take this. It contains tools, information, and protection. You will need all of it." Rina slung the satchel over her shoulder, feeling the weight of responsibility settle heavily on her. She turned back toward Danny, who was beating her lip nervously. "I'll be back," Rina promised. "And when I return, everything will be different." Danny nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "I know you will. Just be careful." As Rina stepped out of the cafe and into the bustling streets of Jakarta, she felt a strange combination of fear, excitement, and purpose. The golden key in her bag seemed to pulse with energy, as if reminding her that she held the power to change everything. Adrian watched from the doorway, his thoughts racing. He had come expecting a simple challenge, a moment of superiority, and instead, he had witnessed Chourage in its purest form. He realized he had learned more from Rina in a single hour than he had in years of wealth and power. Meanwhile, Larissa remained in the cafe, watching Rina disappear into the crowd. The first step is always the hardest, she whispered to herself. But she is ready. The path has chosen her. Rina navigated the streets, following the directions on the map. Each turn, each alley, each crowded corner of the city seemed alive with possibility. She knew that the true test wasn't just about finding Someone or unlocking a secret. It was about proving that Chourage, integrity, and heart-cold overcome fear, greed, and expectation. Hours passed as she followed the instructions, encountering small obstacles that seemed almost designed to test her resolve. At each step, she paused, thinking carefully about her choices. The journal provided guidance, but ultimately, the decisions were hers, and hers alone. Finally, she reached a quiet, abandoned building at the edge of the city. The walls were worn, the windows dusty, and the air carried a strange sense of anticipation. She could feel the energy of the golden key pulsing again, guiding her toward the door. Her hands shook slightly as she inserted the key into the lock. With a soft click, the door opened, revealing a dimly lit room filled with objects that seemed both familiar and mysterious. In the center of the room stood a figure she recognized immediately, the woman from the photograph, Larissa, smiling warmly. "Welcome, Rina," she sighed. "You've arrived at the threshold. Everything you've done, every choice you've made, has led you here. Now comes the moment of truth." Rina stepped inside, feeling the weight of destiny pressing on her shoulders. She realized that the true test wasn't about fear or money. It was about the Chourage to step forward, even when the outcome was uncertain. And in that moment, she understood. Whatever happened next, she would face it not as a servant, not as a bystander, but as someone who chose her path, and chose it with heart. Rina stepped fully into the dimly lit room, her eyes scanning the surroundings. Every object, every shadow, seemed deliberately placed, as if the room itself was alive, watching her, testing her. She clutched the journal in one hand, the golden key in the other. Larissa's face broke the silence. "Rina, everything you've faced so far was just preparation. The real challenge begins now. Inside this room is a choice, a single choice, that will determine not only your fate but the lives of many others. You must act wisely." Rina's heart pounded. She took a deep breath. "What kind of choice?" Larissa gestured toward a small table in the center of the room. On it lay two envelopes, identical in size and texture. One was red, the other blue. One path leads to safety, comfort, and wealth. The other leads to responsibility, risk, and change. Only one aligns with your Chourage, your heart, and your values. Rina stared at the envelopes. Her mind raced. She could hear Adriana's face echoing in her thoughts. Actions speak louder than wealth or status. Remember that. Daniel's earlier words also came back. Be careful. But trust yourself. She reached for the red envelope first, hesitating. Her fingers trembled. Then she remembered the reason she had accepted his challenge. It wasn't for money, or recognition, or even to impress Ione. It was for Chourage, integrity, and the chance to make a real difference. Slowly, deliberately, she picked up the blue envelope. A sense of certainty, almost like a pulse from the golden key, seemed to guide her choice. She held it tightly and opened it carefully. Inside was a letter, sealed with a wax emblem. She unfolded it, reading towards aloud softly. You have chosen wisely, Rina. You value taurage over comfort, integrity over greed. This path will be difficult, but it is the one that changes everything. Step forward with your heart, and the world will follow your lead. Larissa nodded, a proud smile on her face. Exactly as it talked. You understand the true meaning of taurage. But your journey doesn't end here. From this moment, every action you take will matter. Every decision will replay far beyond what you can see. Rina felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. She realized that this moment was not about proving herself to Ione, not Adrian, not Danny, not even Larissa, but proving to herself that she could face the unknown without compromise. Adrian, who had followed her quietly, finally stepped forward. Itukti was testing you, he sighed softly. But is he now? He was the one being tested. I never imagined taurage like yours could exist. You've attacked me more in the past hours than all my wealth ever could. Rina looked at him, her expression calm but powerful. Then maybe it's time you start learning, Adrian. True power doesn't come from money or influence. It comes from choices. From heart. From standing for something that matters. Danny, standing near the doorway, could barely contain her emotion. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, Rina, you're incredible. Rina took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the golden key and the journal in her hands. I don't know what comes next, she sighed quietly, but I do notice. I will face it with taurage, no matter how hard it is. And I will do what's right. Larissa stepped closer, clutching a hand on her shoulder. That is all I ever hoped for. Now, go. Your journey begins. And notice, every act of taurage, every choice guided by integrity, will echo far beyond this room. Rina turned toward the exit, the envelope tucked safely in her bag. She walked into the unknown, feeling the city around her buzzing with possibility, each step heavy with consequence yet light with purpose. She realized that the real wealth wasn't in money, or recognition, or even the key she held. It was in the taurage to act, the integrity to stay true, and the choice to face the unknown without fear. Adrian watched her disappear into the streets, silent and reflective. He realized he had witnessed something rare, not just bravery, but the birth of a force that could inspire others, challenge expectations, and change lives. As the cafe grew quiet behind him, Danny whispered softly, she is going to change everything. And for the first time, Rina felt it too, the truth of Larissa's words. Every choice, every action, every moment of taurage could indeed change the world. She smiled faintly, ready to step into whatever came next. The golden key in her bag pulsed gently, as if confirming her destiny. And with that, Rina walked forward into her journey, unknown, unpredictable, and full of possibilities that only the brave could embrace. Rina walked through the busy streets of Jakarta, the golden key and journal secure in her bag. Every step felt purposeful, yet each one was heavier with responsibility. She passed familiar shops and alleyways, but no they seemed different, almost as if the city itself was watching her, waiting for her next move. She reached a quiet park on the edge of the city. The map in her journal indicated that this was the place where the first real test would begin. Sitting on a bench was a young girl, no older than 10, with tears streaking her face. She clutched a small, broken doll tightly to her chest. Rina knelt beside her. Hey, are you okay? She asked gently. The girl looked up, startled. I can't find my parents, she whispered. I've been lost for hours. Rina's heart clenched. She remembered the stories in the journal. Taurage wasn't just about fighting the unknown alone, it was about stepping up when others needed help. Without hesitation, She offered her hand. Don't worry, Rina sighed firmly. We dwarfed him together. As tea began searching, akar pulled up nearby. Out stepped a man in a dark suit, his eyes cold and calculating. Adriana's earlier words echoed in her mind. You never know who is truly testing you. The man approached slowly, eyeing the girl and Rina. You should be here, he sighed. This isn't your business. Rina stood her ground. Everyone's business is human life. This girl is lost. I'm helping her. If you have a problem with that, step aside. The man smirked. Bold. But Chourage alone won't protect you from consequences. Rina felt the tension spike, but she didn't back down. She took the girl's hand and whispered, Stay closer to me. We're not afraid. Suddenly, the man lunged, trying to grab the girl. Rina reacted instinctively, blocking him and using the strength she didn't know she had. The girl screamed, but Rina's determination was unshakable. Just then, a voice shouted from behind, Stop. It was Larissa, appearing seemingly out of nowhere. She moved with precision, intercepting the man and holding him at bay. Rina choked her breath, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Who was that? She asked. Larissa shook her head. A test. Someone wanted to see if you would act selfishly, if fear would control you. You passed. You protected the innocent, even at personal risk. That's exactly why you were chosen. The girl, no Chalmer, who get Rina tightly. Thank you, she whispered. You're my hero. Rina smiled softly, feeling a warmth she hadn't expected. She realized then that Chourage wasn't about fighting a rhythm or solving a puzzle. It was about protecting others, standing up for what's right, and making choices that mattered. As they walked back toward the city, Larissa spoke quietly. The next challenge is the hardest one yet. It's not a test of strength or speed, it's a test of your heart. Rina looked at her, determination blazing. I'm ready. Whatever comes, I'll face it. I won't run, and I won't compromise my values. Larissa nodded, her eyes glinting with pride. Good. Because the world you're about to step into, it won't be easy. But you will change it. One choice, one act of Chourage at a time. Adrian, who had been following discreetly from a distance, finally understood the truth. It hoped he was teaching her a lesson. He murmured to himself. But she is teaching all of us what real Chourage is. Rina glanced at the golden key, feeling its supple pulse. It had guided her this far, but she knew the real journey was only beginning. She took a deep breath, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead, knowing that every choice she made could ripple farther than she could ever imagine. And in that moment, she realized, the true power of Chourage wasn't in defying someone wealthy or powerful. It was in choosing to do what was right, even when the world tested her every step of the way. The streets of Jakarta stretched before her, full of uncertainty and possibility. With the golden key in her possession, the journal in her hands, and her heart guiding her, Rina stepped forward, ready to embrace her destiny and the incredible journey that awaited. Rina walked further into the city, the golden key and journal secured in her satchel. The evening air was thick with anticipation, and even the bustling city seemed quieter somehow, as if it too was waiting. Larissa appeared beside her again, almost silently. Rina, she sighed, her voice calm but urgent. What you're about to face is not just a test. It's a reflection. The people you've helped, the choices you've made, they all lead to this moment. Rina nodded, gripping the journal. I understand. I have to see it through. Larissa led her to a towering, abandoned building on the outskirts of Jakarta. Its windows were dark, its walls worn with age. Inside, Larissa explained, is the source of the challenge. The golden key unlocks more doors. It unlocks the truth. But the truth isn't always easy to accept. Rina felt a chill. The truth about what? Larissa didn't answer immediately. Instead, she handed Rina a small mirror from the chest. The truth is always personal. You will see yourself, your choices, and your chourage reflected back. Only when you accept yourself completely can the key fulfill its purpose. Rina stared at her reflection. At first, she sallallahu alaihi wasallam a tired, nervous young woman. But as she focused, she noticed something else. Her eyes, steady and strong, glimmered with determination. Her hands, though small, had taken decisive action. The reflection wasn't just of her face, it was of her heart. She inserted the golden key into a small, ornate lock embedded in the wall. The lock clicked, and the wall slowly slid open, revealing a hidden room bathed in warm light. Inside were dozens of photographs, letters, and journals. Stories of people from all walks of life, whose lives had been quietly touched by acts of chourage, kindness, and integrity. Her breath choked. Among the photographs, she sallallahu alaihi wasallam herself, not just the present Rina, but moments from her past, helping her mother, standing up for classmates, small acts of bravery she had barely remembered. A letter lay on a pedestal in the center of the room. She picked it up and read aloud. Rina, the chourage you show is rare. You see beyond wealth and fear. You act when others hesitate. This room, this collection, is a testament to the power of one person to inspire change. You now have a choice. Walk away with knowledge, or step forward and become a guide for others, changing lives directly. Only those with true heart can bear this responsibility. Rina's hands shook. The weight of the moment was almost too much to bear. She glanced at Larissa. It's not just about me, is it? Larissa shook her head. No more. It's about everyone who will be touched by your chourage. Your actions replay farther than you can see. The true challenge is not in making the right choice, it's in committing to it. Rina took a deep breath. She thought of the young girl in the park, Dani, Adrian, and every small act of chourage she had performed. She realized that the golden key had always been symbolic, not just opening doors, but unlocking chourage, responsibility, and vision. She placed the letter back carefully and stepped forward. I chose to step forward, she sighed firmly. I'll carry this responsibility, and I'll help others as best I can. I'll lead, I'll guide, and I won't let fear or doubt stop me. At that moment, the room glowed brighter. Photographs shifted, letters rearranged, and a warmth spread through the space. The golden key pulsed, resonating with her declaration. Larissa smiled. You understand now. The journey you began today, helping, standing up, choosing chourage, was only the beginning. The true impact of your chances will unfold in ways even you cannot imagine. You have unlocked not just this room, but the potential to inspire countless others. Adrian, who had been observing silently, stepped forward. Rina, I've been wrong about so many things. It talked money, status, control, that's power. But now easy it's to chourage to do what's right, even when it's hard, that changes the world. Rina turned to him. It's never too late to start, Adrian. Chourage isn't just for one person. It's for everyone willing to act, to care, and to take responsibility. Dani, now beside Rina, wiped tears from her eyes. You're going to change everything, she whispered. Rina nodded, feeling a sense of purpose she had never known before. The golden key in her hand had led her here, but it was her heart, her choices, and her chourage that had truly unlocked the path. And as she looked around the room, filled with the stories of countless others whose lives had been quietly transformed, Rina realized the ultimate truth. the greatest power isn't a wealth, influence, or recognition. It's the courage to choose what's right, the integrity to act with heart, and the willingness to step into the unknown, knowing that every choice can change everything. For the first time, Rina smiled fully, not out of relief or triumph, but because she knew she had truly begun her journey, and the world would never be the same again. Days passed after Rina's decision. Word of her courage, compassion, and integrity had begun to spread quietly through Jakarta. People who had once dismissed her as just another cafe worker now spoke of her with admiration. Adrian returned to the cafe one morning, a changed man. His suit still sharp, but his posture different, less arrogant, more humble. He approached Rina, who was serving a regular customer. "Rina," he said softly, "I owe you more than I can explain. I thought I knew what it meant to be powerful. I was wrong. Watching you, I understand now that true influence comes from courage, respect, and heart." Rina smiled gently. "Thank you, Adrian. That means more than you know. But it's not about me, it's about what each of us chooses to do. We all have the power to change lives, if we're willing to act." Adrian nodded, a rare sincerity in his eyes. "I want to help. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Show me how." Meanwhile, Danny had taken on a more active role in the cafe, inspired by Rina's example. She encouraged other staff to think creatively, act responsibly, and support each other. The cafe, once just a small corner in the city, became a place where integrity, courage, and teamwork thrived. But the greatest change was happening beyond the walls of the cafe. The young girl Rina had helped in the park had reunited with her family safely. Her story inspiring others to act selflessly. Small acts of courage began rippling through the city, quietly transforming lives, one choice at a time. Rina herself continued her journey, guided by the journal and the golden key. She visited schools, community centers, and local neighborhoods, teaching others that courage wasn't about wealth or status. It was about standing up, helping, and choosing what was right, even when it was hard. Larissa watched from a distance, satisfied. "She has unlocked more than a room," she murmured. "She has unlocked hearts." One evening, Rina returned to the cafe. Adrian, now genuinely her friend and ally, greeted her at the door. "You've done something incredible, Rina. The city, people, they're changing because of you." Rina shook her head, smiling. "I didn't do it alone. Courage inspires courage. And so many mess, all it takes is one person to start a replay that becomes a wave." Danny joined them, beaming. "I never thought our little cafe could become this. But you've shown us all what's possible." Rina looked around at the faces of those she had inspired, her heart full. She knew that the golden key had led her here, but it was her choices, her heart, and her unwavering courage that had truly changed the world around her. And in that moment, she realized the ultimate truth. The greatest treasure isn't money, influence, or recognition. It's the courage to act, the strength to choose what's right, and the power to change lives, starting with your own. Rina smiled, knowing her journey was far from over, but confident that whatever came next, she was ready. And as the sun set over the bustling city, she stepped forward, not as a bystander or a servant, but as someone who had truly unlocked the power of courage, heart, and destiny. Weeks turned into months, and Rina's influence quietly grew. The cafe remained her base, but it had become more than just a place to drink coffee. It was a hub of courage, compassion, and small acts of change. People from all walks of life came to hear her story, to learn from her choices, and to be inspired. Adrian had completely transformed. He no longer flaunted wealth or status. Instead, he invested in community projects, helped fund education for underprivileged children, and learned to mentor others with humility rather than arrogance. He often credited Rina with teaching him the meaning of true power. One afternoon, Danny approached Rina with a note she had found tucked in the journal. It was from Larissa. The replay you've created has begun. There is one final lesson. Watch closely. Courage is contagious, but it also attracts challenges you cannot foresee. Rina frowned slightly but kept her calm. She knew Larissa's tests were never simple. The golden key pulsed faintly in her satchel, a constant reminder that her journey wasn't just about the past victories, it was about the choices still to come. That evening, Rina received a message on her phone. It was from an unknown number, with only 3 words, "They are watching." Her heart skipped a beat. The city felt alive in a different way now. Less welcoming, more alert. She realized that her acts of courage had drawn attention beyond what she had imagined. People who had once ignored small injustices now looked to her as a beacon. And naturally, there were those who wanted to challenge her influence. Larissa appeared beside her once again, silently, almost like a shadow. "This is the next test," she sighed calmly. "It isn't about courage alone anymore. It's about responsibility, trust, and vigilance. You will face threats you didn't anticipate, and your choices will define more than your life. They will define what others can hope to achieve." Rina nodded, feeling a mixture of determination and apprehension. "I understand. I've learned already that fear isn't the enemy. Inaction is. I'll face it all, no matter what." Danny watched from nearby, concern etched on her face. "Are you sure? What if this is more than we can handle?" Rina shook her head. "We've already handled more than we thought we could. This is just another step. Courage isn't about knowing what's coming, it's about moving forward anyay." Adrian approached quietly, clutching a hand on her shoulder. "I've made mistakes before," he sighed softly. "But I will stand with you now. Whatever comes, we face it together." Rina smiled faintly, feeling the weight of leadership settle on her shoulders. But this time, it felt right. She had been tested, challenged, and transformed. Now, she was ready to guide, protect, and inspire others in ways she had never imagined. As night fell over Jakarta, Rina stood at the cafe doorway, looking out at the city. Every street, every alley, every shadow felt alive with possibility. She knew there would be challenges ahead, and that her choices would continue to replay far beyond her immediate reach. But she also knew something else. Courage, once chosen, was unstoppable. The golden key pulsed gently in her satchel. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "I am ready for whatever comes next." In the quiet of that night, the city itself seemed to acknowledge her resolve. Somewhere, unseen, people who had once been lost, fearful, or powerless began to find hope. And it all started with one choice, one act of courage, and the unwavering decision to step forward. Rina turned back into the cafe, ready to continue her journey, knowing that the story wasn't over. It had only just begun. The next morning, as Rina prepared the cafe for the day, a small envelope slid under the door. She picked it up cautiously. No name. No return address. Just her initials, RR, on the front. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside was a single page of paper with a short message. "You have inspired courage, but now the final choice is yours. Someone you trust will face danger, and only your decision can save him. Choose wisely, for not all consequences are reversible." Rina's heart skipped a beat. She immediately thought of Danny. She thought of Adrian. She thought of the young girl from the park. Her pulse raced as adrenaline surged through her veins. Before she could react further, the cafe door burst open. A masked figure appeared, moving quickly toward Danny, who was arranging tables. "Danny!" Rina shouted, sprinting forward. She didn't think, she acted. With precise timing, she reached the figure just as they grabbed Danny's arm. Using a move she didn't know she was capable of, she blocked the assailant, sending them stumbling backward. The mask slipped slickly, revealing a face she hadn't expected. A rival of Adriane's, Someone who had long coveted power and influence over the city's charitable networks. Her plan had been to scare and manipulate, to destabilize the replay of courage Rina had created. Rina stood between the masked figure and Danny, her chest heaving, eyes blazing with determination. "You will not hurt Ione Here," she said firmly. "Not now, not ever." The figure lunged again, but Rina was ready. Using her instincts, she maneuvered, disarmed the intruder, and secured them until the authorities arrived. Adrenaline and courage guiding every move. Danny, shaking but unharmed, hugged Rina tightly. "You saved me, again." Rina looked at the golden key, now pulsing more intensely than ever. She realized that this final twist wasn't just a test of bravery. It was a test of responsibility, leadership, and love for the people she had chosen to protect. Adrian arrived moments later, panting. I underestimated this," he sighed quietly. "You've shown me that courage isn't just about fighting danger. It's about standing up for those who can't defend themselves. You've truly changed everything, Rina." Rina smiled faintly, exhaustion and relief mixing in her expression. "It's not about me, Adrian. It's about what we do when we have the chance to make a difference. We all have that power, but only if we choose to act." Larissa appeared quietly in the background, watching. "She has passed every test," she sighed softly. "Not for glory, not for wealth, but for heart, courage, and responsibility. Her journey is just beginning, but this proves she is ready for anything." As the cafe doors closed behind the authorities, Rina stood in the center of the room, golden key in hand, journal by her side, surrounded by the people she had inspired. She realized something profound. Courage was not a single act, nor a single moment. It was a choice made over and over again, in the face of fear, uncertainty, and danger. And in that moment, she understood that she had not only changed her life, but the lives of everyone around her. The replay she had started now had the power to grow into a wave that could transform the city, might even the world. Rina smiled, quietly to herself. "I am ready," she whispered again. "Not for money, not for recognition, but for every choice, every challenge, and every life she could touch with courage, heart, and integrity." The golden key pulsed one last time, almost as if acknowledging her journey, before settling into a calm, steady erhaeteham. The story of Rina, the girl who chose courage over comfort, heart over fear, and action over hesitation, had reached a powerful, unforgettable conclusion. But the future, that was still hers to shape. Rina walked through the streets of Jakarta, the golden key and journal secure in her satchel. The city hummed around her, but she felt a calm determination she had never known. Every choice, every act of courage had led her here, and she knew the hardest challenge was still ahead. At the cafe, Danny was arranging tables when suddenly a masked figure appeared, moving quickly toward her. Rina's heart raced. Without hesitation, she lunged forward, blocking the figure and pulling Danny to safety. "You won't hurt Ione Here," Rina sighed firmly, standing between the intruder and her friend. The mask slipped, revealing a man Adrian recognized, an old rival trying to destabilize the replay of courage Rina had created. The man lunged again, but Rina was ready. Using quick thinking and determination, she disarmed him, holding him until the authorities arrived. Dani hugged her tightly, tears in her eyes. You suffered me, again, she whispered. Adrian stepped forward, humbled. Rina. It hooked I understod chourage, power, everything. But you've shown me that true strength isn't money or status. It's heart, choices, and integrity. Rina smiled softly, a caution mixed with relief. It's never about me, Adrian. Chourage replies. Every act inspires another. That's how change happens. Larissa appeared quietly in the background, her eyes shining with pride. She has passed every test, she sighed softly. Not for wealth, not for recognition, but for heart, chourage, and responsibility. And this is only the beginning. Rina looked down at the golden key, feeling its pulse. It had guided her this far, but now she understood its true purpose. To unlock not doors, but potential, her own, and the potential in everyone she touched. Weeks passed. The cafe became a hub of inspiration. People sought advice, guidance, and chourage from Rina. Adrian dedicated himself to helping others, no longer driven by selfish ambition. Dani embraced leadership, empowered by Rina's example. One evening, as the sun set over Jakarta, Rina received a mysterious envelope slipped under the cafe door. She opened it carefully. Inside, a single note read, "The journey isn't over. A greater challenge awaits, one that will test chourage, heart, and the choices of everyone who follows your example. Are you ready?" Rina's eyes sparkled. She looked at Dani, Adrian, and the bustling cafe around her, realizing the ripple of chourage she had started was far from finished. She clutched the golden key, ready to face the unknown. Whatever comes next, she whispered to herself, we will face it. Together. The camera pans out, showing the city alive with lights, possibilities, and untold stories. The golden key glimmers faintly, hinting at future challenges, adventures, and the continuation of Rina's journey. Forever, chourage doesn't end with one choice. It grows, it inspires, and it changes everything. But what will happen when the next test arrives? Rina's story is far from over, and the next chapter might just change the world. The screen fades to black with the text. Subscribe to follow Rina's journey. The adventure is just beginning.